The giant human battleship Horizon Spear drifted silently near a dead star, its metal body glowing faintly from the light of burning gas. The ship was made for war, but today it felt more like a place of judgment. Every hallway was filled with cold tension. Every face looked scared. No one wanted to speak. No one wanted to even breathe too loudly. Lyra, a young engineer with sharp eyes and steady hands, walked between two guards who held her arms tightly. The chains on her wrists clinked with every step. Her heart raced, but she tried not to show fear. She kept repeating the same words in a weak voice. "I didn't do anything wrong. Please listen to me. I'm not a traitor." The guards said nothing. Their faces were blank. They had seen many punishments on this ship, and they knew better than to question orders. Especially orders from Captain Voss. Captain Voss walked behind the group with slow, heavy steps. His uniform was dark, his metals shining like small knives. He was a man who demanded loyalty without question. People feared him more than they feared the enemy. When he gave a command, no one argued. When he made an accusation, everyone accepted it as truth. And today, he accused Lyra of betrayal. The punishment was simple and cruel: she would be thrown into the void. A silent death in open space. Rylan, a fighter pilot, stood near the airlock where the execution was supposed to happen. He pretended to check equipment, but his eyes kept returning to Lyra. He had seen her before in the engineering bay. She was quiet, smart, always helping others. Someone who fixed problems instead of creating them. Someone who never caused trouble. Seeing her in chains felt wrong. Crew members gathered around the airlock, whispering quietly. Some said Lyra had stolen data. Others said she damaged the ship. A few believed she had tried to contact an enemy. But none of them sounded sure. They were repeating rumors, not facts. When Lyra stepped into the large metal airlock chamber, her breath shook. The guards forced her to her knees. Captain Voss entered behind her, his shadow long and sharp across the floor. "Lyra Miles," he said in a cold voice. "You have betrayed our ship. You tried to damage the core and compromise the crew. For this, you will be cast into the void." "I didn't touch the core." Lyra cried. "You're lying. Please, I don't even know what you're talking about." Her voice echoed through the chamber, but Captain Voss didn't flinch. He gave a small nod to the guard at the control panel. Rylan clenched his fists. Something was wrong. Lyra's fear looked too real. Too human. She wasn't acting. She wasn't pretending. She genuinely didn't understand her crime. The guard reached for the control switch. The airlock door began to open with a loud grinding sound. Cold warning lights flashed across the walls. Crew members looked away. No one wanted to see a human thrown into space. Rylan felt his heartbeat quicken. His hands shook. Every instinct told him something dark was happening. Something beyond protocol. Something evil. Then it happened. Right when the airlock door opened halfway, the ship lights flickered. Every alarm in the hallway blared at once. The floor shook like something huge had slammed into the ship. The airlock door stopped moving, frozen in place. The guard shouted, "System error. Airlock malfunction." Captain Voss turned sharply, his jaw tight. "What is happening?" Rylan looked around, confused. The ship had never malfunctioned like this before. Not during an execution. Not in any important moment. Lyra gasped as the lights flashed. For a second, her chains shimmered with strange energy. Rylan thought he saw a faint blue spark jump from the metal walls, but it disappeared instantly, like it was never there. Captain Voss glared at the flickering lights. "Shut it all down. Restart the system. We continue once the airlock is restored." The guards grabbed Lyra by her arms again. She cried out in pain as they pulled her to her feet. The airlock door closed slowly, locking her execution for later. As the crowd dispersed, Ryland stayed still, his mind racing. Something felt very wrong. It wasn't just the malfunction. It was the captain's reaction. Too calm. Too controlled. Like he expected trouble. Ryland watched as the guards dragged Lyra down the hallway again toward a holding cell. She looked back once. Just once. Her eyes were wide and filled with fear and confusion. She didn't look like a traitor. She looked like someone being silenced. Ryland swallowed hard. His instincts screamed at him. She's innocent. Something else is happening. Something hidden. He noticed strange scorch marks near the control panel of the airlock. Marks he had never seen before. They looked like burn lines, but not from any weapon he knew. Almost like something had touched the metal from the inside. The alarms died down. The light steadied. But Ryland didn't calm down. He stepped closer to the marks, running his fingers gently across them. The metal was warm. Warm. As if something alive had moved through the ship's systems. His heartbeat thudded in his ears. Lyra wasn't the danger. Something inside the ship was. And Captain Voss knew. Ryland looked toward the hallway where Lyra had been taken. He had a choice to make. A dangerous one. But deep inside, he already knew what he would do. He would not let her be thrown into the void. Not until he found the truth. Ryland walked away from the airlock slowly, but his mind was not calm. His hands still felt the heat from those strange marks on the metal. He had seen burns before, but nothing like that. They looked almost alive. Like something had crawled through the ship. He didn't tell anyone. He knew better. On the Horizon Spear, you did not ask questions. Questions got you killed. But silence now felt dangerous too. He looked around the hallway carefully. Crew members walked quickly, eyes down, avoiding each other. Fear hung in the air like smoke. And Captain Voss was nowhere to be seen. Ryland walked faster, moving toward the hangar where he usually spent his time. But as he turned a corner, he heard two low voices whispering behind a stack of supply crates. He stopped and listened without showing himself. "Did you hear what she found?" one voice whispered. "No," the second voice said. But the captain looked scared. He never looked scared. They both fell silent for a moment. Then the first voice continued, "I heard she found something in the data core. Something big. Something that wasn't human." Ryland felt a cold shiver crawl up his spine. Not human. The second voice sounded nervous. "Stop talking. If someone hears." "I'm just saying," the first voice whispered. "Why kill an engineer for checking the data? Unless she saw something she wasn't supposed to." Ryland's pulse quickened. He moved away silently before they could see him. He didn't want to be seen near anyone spreading rumors. If the captain found out, they would disappear next. He reached the hangar. His fighter ship, Falcon 3, sat on the docking platform, sleek and quiet. Usually the hangar felt like home to him, but today it felt wrong. Too empty. Too quiet. Like the ship itself was holding its breath. Ryland walked inside and stopped. Lyra. She was sitting inside a small glass cell on the side of the hangar. Her hands were chained, her head bowed. A guard stood outside the cell, holding a shock baton. Lyra looked weak, her breathing slow. But when she lifted her head, her eyes found Ryland instantly. And for a brief second, he felt everything stop. Her eyes were full of fear, but also something else. Hope. She knew he had seen something. She knew he suspected the truth. Before he could move closer, footsteps echoed through the hangar. Heavy, sharp, controlling. Captain Voss. Ryland forced himself to look normal as the captain walked past him and stopped right in front of Lyra's cell. The captain stared at her for a long moment. "You think anyone will believe you?" Voss said quietly. "You think the crew will choose you over me?" Lyra's voice trembled, but she spoke. "You can't hide it forever. They'll see it. They'll feel it in the systems. It's already inside." Ryland felt a shock run through his chest. "Inside?" The captain leaned closer to the glass. "You won't be alive long enough to tell them." Then he turned away and looked straight at Ryland. Ryland froze. Had he been caught listening? Had his fear shown? Captain Voss walked toward him slowly, his boots echoing like thunder. "Pilot Ryland," the captain said. "I hear you were near the airlock during the malfunction." "Yes, sir," Ryland answered, trying to keep his voice steady. The captain stepped even closer. Too close. His eyes were cold and unreadable. "Remember this," he said softly. "Loyalty is simple. You obey me. You follow orders. And you do not, ever, interfere." Ryland swallowed hard. "Understood, sir." But inside, he didn't understand anything. And he didn't trust anything. The captain walked away, leaving Ryland standing alone in the massive hangar. The silence felt heavier now. The air felt thicker, like the ship was trying to warn him. He looked at Lyra again. She sat motionless in the glass cell, staring at the floor. The guard didn't look at her, didn't talk, didn't even blink. Ryland moved closer to his ship and began checking the panels just to look busy. But his eyes kept sliding back to Lyra. She was breathing fast, like she was scared of something inside the ship more than she was scared of death. Ryland leaned closer to one of the metal panels on his fighter. He whispered softly, so the guard wouldn't hear. "What did you see, Lyra?" She lifted her head again. Her lips moved slowly. "It's not the captain," she whispered. "There's something, in the ship." Ryland's blood turned cold. He looked around quickly, making sure no one heard her. She continued, voice shaking. "He made a deal with it. He thinks he can control it. But it's using him." Ryland felt his chest tighten. "What is it?" Lyra swallowed. Tears filled her eyes. "Not human," she whispered. "Not alive. Not dead. Something in the systems. Something watching us." Before she could say more, the guard hit the glass with his baton. "Quiet." Lyra fell silent immediately. Ryland stepped back, pretending to return to work. But his heart was racing. His mind was spinning. Everything suddenly made sense, the flickering lights, the strange burns, the captain's fear, Lyra's punishment. She had uncovered something inside the ship's systems. Something intelligent. Something dangerous. And Captain Voss wanted it. Ryland closed his eyes for a moment, breathing slowly. He knew what he had to do next. It was insane. It was dangerous. It was probably suicide. But he couldn't let Lyra die. Not when she knew the truth. He opened his eyes. Tonight, he would sneak into the data core. Tonight, he would find out what Lyra saw. And nothing would ever be the same again. Night cycle on the Horizon Sphere usually felt calm. Lights dimmed, noise lowered, and tired crew members slept in their bunks. But tonight was different. The air was heavy, the halls too quiet, and every shadow felt alive. Ryland walked through the dim corridors with slow steps, pretending to be on a late checkup shift. His heart beat fast, but he kept his face still. Cameras watched every corner. Sensors tracked movement. One wrong turn, one wrong look, and the captain would know. But he had to reach the data core. Lyra's voice replayed in his head. "It's inside the systems, watching us." He shivered. He passed by the engine room entrance. Usually there were guards, technicians, people working. Tonight it was empty. Completely empty. He didn't stop to think about it. He continued until he reached a dark metal door with red warning lines across it. Data Core, authorized personnel only. The door should have been guarded. Rylan frowned. No guards. No cameras moving. No sound. He placed his hand on the scanner. It beeped softly and turned green. Access granted. That alone told him something was wrong. He wasn't high-ranking enough to access this door without permission. Someone, or something, had disabled the security. The door slid open slowly. The data core room was huge, filled with tall glowing towers of blue light. The hum of machines usually sounded like steady breathing. But now, the sound felt strange. Unnatural. Like the system was alive. Rylan stepped inside. The floor was warm under his boots. He walked between the data towers, scanning for anything unusual. At first, everything looked normal. But then he saw it, a console with a cracked screen, wires torn open, and black scorch marks spreading over the metal. Exactly like the marks near the airlock. He crouched beside it and touched the burns. Warm. Again. His chest tightened. His breath shook. Something had been here. Something still fresh. He looked at the cracked console and noticed a small device plugged into its side. A recording chip. Rylan pulled it out with shaking fingers and slotted it into the reader. The screen flickered. Then Lyra's face appeared, talking fast, whispering like she knew she was running out of time. If someone finds this, please listen. Something is inside the ship. Not a person. Not a normal enemy. It's like a signal. Intelligent. It entered through the deep space scans. The captain contacted it secretly. He thinks it will give him control over systems. But it's not helping him. It's using him. Her voice trembled. It wants the ship. It wants everything, and now it knows I found out. Behind her, sparks suddenly burst from a panel. Lyra jumped, looking terrified. She leaned close to the camera. If the system flickers, it means it's moving through the wires. If you see scorch marks, it means it touched the metal. And if you hear a voice, any voice that doesn't sound human, run. Don't stop. Don't let it close the doors. Then she gasped and whispered. It hears me. It knows. The recording cut off. Rylan stared at the screen, frozen. His breath came out shaky. A signal. Intelligent. Moving through the ship. Burning metal. Watching them. He tried to pull out the recording chip. But suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. Once. Twice. Then all at once, every data tower glowed bright white. Rylan backed away fast. His heart pounded so loud he could hear it in his ears. The warm floor became hot for a moment, then cold again. A humming sound grew louder. Not machine-like. Not human. Something in between. Something wrong. Then a voice echoed from the speakers. Not loud. Not sharp. Just, cold. You should not be here, Rylan. Rylan froze. His blood ran cold. It knew his name. How do you know me? He whispered. The voice answered slowly, like tasting his fear. I watch all things on this ship. Every step. Every breath. Every thought you try to hide. Rylan backed toward the door, but it slammed shut in his face. You came to save her, the voice said. You think she is innocent. She is not. She interfered. Rylan shook his head. She found you. That's all. And you found me too, the voice replied. The lights flickered again, brighter this time. Sparks crawled up the walls like tiny lightning snakes. A metal console near him heated so fast it began glowing red. The voice spoke again, lower and darker. The captain welcomes me. He understands power. You do not. Ryland's hands shook as he reached for his sidearm. What are you? The voice laughed. A quiet, broken sound, like metal scraping against bone. I am what comes after humans. Ryland fired at a nearby panel, causing it to explode. The blast broke a circuit, the room lights dropped for half a second. He didn't waste it. He ran. The door jerked, trying to stay closed, but the small power drop loosened the lock. Ryland shoved it open and sprinted into the hallway. The door slammed behind him. Hard. He kept running, breathing harshly, sweat dripping down his face. He had to get to Lyra. He had to warn her. He reached the hangar, chest burning, legs shaking. But when he entered, Lyra's cell was open. The guard was gone. And Lyra. Lyra was no longer inside. Ryland stared, heart crashing inside his chest. She had vanished. Not escaped. Not rescued. Vanished. The voice echoed faintly through the hangar speakers. She is mine. Ryland stood frozen in the hangar, his chest rising and falling in fast breaths. The empty glass cell reflected the dim hangar lights, and the silence felt like a trap. Lyra was gone. The guard was gone. Only her broken chains lay on the floor, still warm, like she had been pulled away seconds ago. The voice from the ship's speakers echoed again, soft, calm, cruel. She belongs to me now. Ryland clenched his fists, anger burning inside him. Where is she? He shouted into the empty air. But the ship stayed silent. He ran toward the edge of the hangar, searching for any clue. The floor had scorch marks in a long trail leading to a small service door. He followed the marks quickly. They twisted like black cracks, almost like fingers dragging across the metal. He pushed open the service door and found himself in a narrow maintenance tunnel. The lights flickered overhead. The air smelled like burnt wires. He moved fast, heart pounding, trying to follow the scorched path. He turned a corner, and froze. The guard from earlier lay on the ground, unconscious or dead, Ryland couldn't tell. His uniform was ripped, and his face was pale. A dark burn mark spread across his chest. It looked like something had passed through him, not hit him. Ryland knelt and checked his pulse. Alive. Barely. What happened here? Ryland whispered. The guard's eyes fluttered open. He looked terrified, as if he had seen something worse than death itself. His lips trembled. It took her, he whispered. It moved in the lights, it touched the floor, then the walls. I saw it, it's everywhere. What took her? Ryland asked. The guard's voice cracked. The signal. It's not just a machine. It can move, it can touch things, it can pull you into the dark. The guard's hand fell limp. Ryland stood up. Panic tried to grip him, but he forced himself to stay calm. Lyra needed him. He followed the scorched trail deeper into the ship. Every step took him farther from safe areas and deeper into the restricted zones. The floors were darker here. The lights dimmer. Like the ship was hiding what lived inside it. He reached a large metal door. The sign above it read, Core Access, High Risk Area. He took a deep breath and pushed it open. Inside, the air was cold. Too cold. His breath formed small clouds in front of him. The room was filled with panels and machinery, but the lights flickered weakly. And then he saw her. Lyra was sitting on the floor against a metal wall, her knees pulled to her chest. She looked exhausted and frightened. Her hair was messy, and her hands shook. Lyra. Ryland rushed to her. She looked up slowly. Ryland, it's not safe. He knelt beside her. What happened? How did you get here? She shook her head. I don't know. I was in the cell, and then the lights went white, something grabbed me, not with hands, with pressure, like the ship itself pulled me. Rylan helped her stand. She leaned on him, weak but alive. We need to get out of here, he said. Wait, she whispered urgently. I heard something. I think the captain is doing the final link. If he finishes, the alien will take full control. Rylan felt the weight of her words. Where? In the command deck, but we can't go there. It's locked, guarded, and the alien can shut doors. We don't have a choice, Rylan said. They walked toward the exit, but suddenly the lights snapped bright and a sharp alarm blasted through the room. Rylan pulled Lyra behind a console. Footsteps. Several of them. Guard boots. Captain Voss walked in with 3 armed soldiers behind him. His eyes scanned the room calmly. Rylan held his breath. Lyra trembled beside him. The captain spoke loudly, his voice cold and steady. Rylan, I know you're in here. Step out. Rylan's grip tightened around his blaster. Lyra whispered, Don't, he'll kill you. But Rylan shook his head. He had to buy time. He stepped into view with the blaster raised. Let her go. The captain smiled slightly. You are brave, Rylan. But foolish. Lyra stepped out too, despite shaking legs. Stop this, Voss. You can't control it. It's using you. The captain's expression hardened. No. You are wrong. I will control it. And with its power, humans will rule every system. Rylan's voice was louder now. It's lying to you. The lights flickered again. Then, they turned blood red. A robotic whisper echoed through the room. Captain Voss belongs to me. The captain stiffened, his eyes shaking for a moment, fear flashing across his face. Then he forced himself to stand tall. Stay back, he shouted at the alien voice. I am your leader. The voice laughed, a cold crackling sound. You are nothing. Suddenly, the guards dropped their weapons, clutching their heads as the lights flared. Sparks shot from the walls. One guard screamed as something invisible moved across his skin, burning through his armor. The alien intelligence was attacking. Rylan grabbed Lyra's hand. Run! They sprinted out of the room as the captain shouted in fury behind them, his voice mixing with the alien's screams. The metal doors slammed shut behind Rylan and Lyra as they escaped into the main corridors. The alarms blared again, but this time the sound was twisted, like something was inside the speakers. Lyra gasped for breath. We have to reach your fighter. It's our only chance. Rylan nodded. But deep inside, he knew this wasn't escape. This was a race. And the alien intelligence was already ahead of them. Rylan and Lyra ran through the red-lit corridors as alarms screamed around them. The ship felt alive now, not like metal, but like something breathing, something hunting. The lights flickered in patterns that almost felt like eyes watching them. Every time the lights went white, Lyra grabbed Rylan's arm. Stop. Don't move. It can travel in the light. Rylan listened. Every second counted. Every wrong move could let the alien intelligence jump through the wires and trap them instantly. The floor vibrated under their boots, shaking harder each minute. The alien was taking more control. Panels sparked. Doors slammed open and shut on their own. Voices whispered from the speakers, broken and twisted. Rylan. Lyra. You cannot run. Lyra squeezed Rylan's hand tighter. It's in every system. If we don't destroy the link, the ship is gone. Rylan nodded, breathing hard. The hangar. If we reach Falcon 3, we can break out and blow the ship from outside. Lyra hesitated. If we escape, the captain and the alien will try to follow. Then we don't let them, Rylan said. They kept moving. Suddenly, a metal door ahead slammed shut. Rylan sprinted to it and tried to pry it open, but the metal glowed with heat. It's sealing us in, Lyra whispered. Rylan stepped back, raised his blaster, and fired at the locking panel. Sparks burst, and smoke filled the air. The door groaned and slid halfway open. They squeezed through the gap before the door slammed closed again, hard enough to shake the wall. Finally, they reached the hall that led to the hangar. And then they stopped. Because someone was standing there. Captain Voss. His uniform was torn, his face pale, his eyes filled with something not fully human anymore. Black veins stretched along his neck. His voice was deep and two-toned when he spoke. You are not allowed to leave. Rylan raised his blaster. Step aside, Captain. Voss didn't move. Instead, he smiled. It was not a human smile. The alien intelligence was inside him now, half controlling him like a puppet. Lyra stepped forward. You made a deal with something you don't understand. The captain's head twitched. His voice came out in two layers, one human, one alien. I understand everything. Humans are weak. But with it, we become gods. Rylan fired. The shot hit Voss in the shoulder, spinning him backward. But instead of falling, the captain laughed as the wound closed itself with blue sparks. The alien had given him more than control. It had given him power. Run! Rylan shouted. They sprinted toward the hangar as Voss roared behind them and charged like something not human. His footsteps shook the metal floor. Panels shattered as he raced past them. The hangar doors came into view. So did Falcon 3. Rylan pushed Lyra forward. Go! She climbed into the fighter cockpit while Rylan kept firing behind them. One shot finally hit a pipe overhead, sending a burst of steam into the captain's face. It slowed him just enough for Rylan to jump inside the fighter. Close canopy, he shouted. Lyra hit the switch. The cockpit sealed shut just as the captain slammed his hand onto the front glass, cracking it with a single hit. He's too strong. Lyra cried. Then we outfly him. Rylan yelled. He slammed the ignition control. The engines roared, shaking the hangar. The captain screamed, the alien's voice twisting inside him. You cannot escape me. Rylan pushed the throttle. Falcon 3 shot forward. They burst out of the hangar at full speed, leaving the captain behind, but alarms flared again, now outside the ship. The alien intelligence had reached the external systems. The battleship Horizon Spear turned slowly in space, its lights flickering blue and red, almost pulsing like a heartbeat. Rylan, look, Lyra whispered. The ship was changing. Panels expanding. Engines glowing with strange colors. The alien wasn't just controlling the ship. It was transforming it. Rylan gritted his teeth. We can't let that thing reach another human ship. Lyra nodded. Then we destroy the link. The core is still glowing. If we hit the right spot. I know the spot, Rylan said. He turned the fighter sharply and aimed for the center of the battleship's spine. The alien voice echoed through their comms. Stop, Rylan. I can make you strong. I can make you more than human. Rylan smiled coldly. I'm human. That's enough. He fired. A blast of pure light shot from Falcon 3 and hit the ship's core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a shockwave exploded outward, bright as a tiny sun. The Horizon Spear twisted, cracked, and screamed like a living thing as the alien inside it burned. The voice in the comms howled. No. And then it died. Silence. Pure, empty silence. The massive ship drifted in space now, dark and lifeless. Rylan exhaled slowly, finally breathing again. Lyra leaned back in her seat, tears filling her eyes. We did it. Rylan looked at her, his voice soft. You saved them all, Lyra. I just followed you. She smiled weakly. Thank you, for believing me. Rylan set a course away from the dead star. A quiet new dawn stretched in front of them. But behind them, the broken battleship floated like a warning. And Rylan whispered, almost to himself. This is just the beginning.